Hi, I'm Vincent Ramirez, and welcome to In the Outside, the show where I talk with bold individuals who are navigating life in the public sphere out and proud. On this edition, I talk with Thales Corrêa, an ambitious film director who has channeled his love for movies into writing and directing an independent film titled Bathroom Stalls and Parking Lots. The film is a bold story that explores the complications of relationships in the modern age of dating apps. Thales and I have a conversation about how he found himself not only behind, but in front of the camera, and the personal connection he has to his film's lead character named Leo. Thales also shares with me his journey from growing up in Brazil to finding himself in Ireland and currently living in Los Angeles, California. We discuss pivotal moments in his life that have helped him define what he wanted for his future. He shares how he's learned from his life experiences and how feeling secure with his own sexual orientation opened a world he believed wasn't possible. Thales shares what life is like living in the outside. And now, part one of my interview with Thales Corrêa. Thales, thank you so much for doing this interview. I'd like to just get started learning a little bit more about you and talking about your upcoming film.
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, thank you very much, Vincent, for inviting me and having me in your podcast. It's an honor. It's a pleasure. I'm really excited to talk about a little bit about myself and the project and everything. And thanks everybody who's listening. And let's do it. Well, my name is Thales Corrêa. I'm a writer and director, and I was born and raised in Brazil, and I came to study film in America. I went feature film is this movie called Bathroom Stalls and Parking Lots that we just completed recently.
Yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to talking to you more about the film. You actually sent me a little bit of an advanced screening, and I was able to really kind of see this like rough cut of the film. And it was really interesting. I really enjoyed watching it.
What do you like the most about it? Now you trigger me to ask questions.
Well, I hate to give like too much
Give
away.
Give it away.
Oh gosh, you're gonna put me on the spot. Okay. I think one of my first reactions to it were just I thought it had a really interesting like lighting. I really liked a lot of the cuts or maybe some of the creative things that you chose to do with it. I thought overall really, you really captured a certain tone with the film. I think overall the storyline had interesting pacing. You definitely start kind of in one area where at least I think I know where this story is going, but then you kind of totally end up in a kind of just a totally different direction than I thought maybe the story was going. But overall I thought the film was fun, and it definitely had an interesting kind of message in there. Well, before we go into like the film, if you don't mind, we can just take it a step back. And you mentioned, I think you were from Brazil, but what age was it that you maybe came over to the US?
Let me just make a comment about your about your feedback here. I love how you just started saying, I like the lighting and the way you look. Like you basically talk about like the technical aspect of it initially, which is interesting because we shot the film with like natural light is at night, but like we didn't have much of technical resources to create this film. And then it's interesting that you mentioned that you like the technical aspect of it, and also like the storyline and that you mentioned and the way we twisted was purposely done that way. But it's funny to get feedback of something that we were just like scratching and make the most out of nothing,
Well, no, I think y'all did a really great job with the film, especially with probably the resources and things that you had access to. I think the choice of lighting or those different things really just kind of give the film its own personality and just kind of help to capture the area that you were within. That's kind of just a little bit of me also looking at it from this other like techie side
awesome. That's great to hear.
Kind of the tech piece that I'm just very curious with, like, what camera did you use, or what did you, how long did it take you to shoot the scene, those kind of things. And that's just, I don't know, the little tech nerd in me, I guess.
Yeah, I got inspired, like Tangerine is you probably know about it. Is one of the hypest LGBT films that recently and released on the indie circuit. And they're known for being shot on iPhone. And when I was trying to write my screenplay with my friend, one of the things that we were like, oh, if anything, we just Tangerine style. We just go with our phones, because we also didn't have a lot of resources. But we ended up getting like a camera that is nice for night shootings. And then we ended up going with that, and I think it's great because it's really colorful and help. But it's nice that to hear feedback from the technical point of view, because it was like one of the most challenging stuff to figure out in this movie. Now, taking back your question, I know that I deviate completely.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I mean, we're allowed to like deviate here.
You asked me like how old was I when I moved here?
Yeah, because you mentioned you came over and did some schooling and everything.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. You want to reveal my age and put my spot. Put me on. That's okay. I moved here when I was 21. Yeah, it was a little bit OD for college and stuff like that, but yeah. I had been through college in Brazil and everything. The first time I got in university was in Brazil, like in a normal age, like 18, 17, 18. Okay. And then it was on the I'm from like a farm family, so I ended up getting on this farm school on my state, and I hate it. Like everybody there like listen to country music, play soccer, very straight edge stuff. Okay. and I listening to Britney Spears, trying to try to learn English. So I went. I think it was like my godmother. In Brazil we had godmothers. Like she told me like, oh, before you graduate, it will be good for you to do like student exchange to learn English, like student exchange program. So you go around the country and learn English. So you come back and you graduate, and then English is better for your career to graduate like with the fluent English. Yeah. And then I love that idea because like that's my chance to escape this town. And then I also love English, by the way. Like and then that was like my first contact with like, if you will, with the outside bubble of where I'm from. Mm-hmm. And then I went to Ireland. I lived in Ireland for like almost a year learning English. I went to an English school there, and then I got. Wait.
So you were in Brazil, went to Ireland to learn English?
Exactly. I went to Ireland, learned English there. I love Ireland, by the way. It's like an amazing country. A lot of nice people. But it was random. It was,
I mean, so wait, did you pick up an Irish accent while you were there in Ireland?
I tried so hard, but I was already on what? It was like the fourth Britney Spears album. I was very Americanized already. I was listening to a lot of pop songs, and then like my English, even though it wasn't that fluent, it would always come out a little, with a more American accent. I swear to God, I love their accent. I love British accents. And then I even downloaded a podcast, by the way, back then to learn how to speak British standard English, like the Queen English, the BBC English. But it was hard. I mean, I got a little bit when I was there.
Do you think you give us a little sample of it?
I can't, man. I can't. And Irish is even crazier. Their accent. You turn the light, mate. It's like a little. I'm never gonna try. Anyway, dude, it was like 10 years ago, like or more.
Wow.
I was 18, like a little bit less than 10 years. And then I did Sweeney Todd there. Okay. I was like trying to get in entertainment, try to, get in the biz. I ended up like doing like Sweeney Todd, like the musical. They had like on the theater, and then it was like, and I love it. It was amazing. It was like a way to like socialize and try to improve my
Yeah.
English a little bit. I was just like singing, like with a small character singing on the chorus. I did that a little bit, and then I went to England and did a little short film there with some indie filmmakers. I was crazy. I don't know what I was doing, but I was just jumping,
So
in and
wow,
out.
you were a little bit of a risk taker,
Yeah,
weren't you?
yeah, no, very risk taking.
Yeah.
Imagine me, imagine some like you go to another country, don't speak the language, you throw yourself in to do Sweeney Todd in a stage to everybody.
Wow, that must have really took a lot of courage at that age because, I mean, even as an more mature adult now, I've traveled internationally and I've been to places where there's little to no English spoken, and it is a very much a fish out of water feeling. So for you to be able to go there to one to learn English and then two learning
Yeah.
just a different culture and customs, that just had to be so nerve
Yeah, it's very
wracking.
nerve wracking when you learn a new language. Like there's some like when you still don't speak fully, like there's a phase. Like when you learn a language, there's like phases. Like one that you don't know anything, and then one that you can hear it but you cannot reply, and then like my family, my brother, when he comes here, I think he's stuck on that phase forever. Like he can understand but he cannot reply, and sometimes like is when you try to reply, it's like a little bit nerve wracking. So you feel like, oh, you bothering the other person, and the other person who's trying to communicate with you kind of lose their patience and be
Hmm.
like, this, like, what do you want? So there's
Yeah.
that phase. But like when I was in Ireland, there's like a thing. At least I don't know if it's for everybody that moves to another country, or at least for me, the way I felt is I felt a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
Like when I was there, like I was like a teenager still. I was trying to figure it out what everything, like I was trying to figure it out, not just sexuality also,
Yeah.
but my art and what do I want to do? What is a filmmaker? I was very raw and and then I was just trying to and 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 and, and then like I come from an upside town and like a small city
Yeah.
where a lot of people are conservative and like just like where I'm from doesn't even have a theater, like a movie theater.
Oh
Yeah, and
wow.
then like I used to do little theaters in the backyard and for family and stuff like that.
What was the name of the town that you were from in
I'm
Brazil?
from a small town called Campo Belo, from a state called Minas Gerais, from a country called Brazil.
Wow.
You'll
And you
probably
so
just know Brazil from those three names I mentioned.
yeah, exactly. I mean, is that even anywhere near Rio?
Well, Minas Gerais is the biggest state uh, in terms of population and importance economically. In Brazil, we have I know Minas Gerais is the third one. We have São Paulo, Rio, and then
Right.
Minas Gerais. Is like a very big state. It's inland and borders São Paulo and Rio, and it's
Okay.
very known for their farming and mining. Uh, like that's what even the name in Portuguese is like general miners. That's the literal translation is, and
Okay.
so it's very like rural type of thing. I mean, it's a modern. And I'm from a small town,
Right,
which
right.
makes it worse. But like you have big cities there, which is very industrialized, like the capitals and stuff. But I'm from like a small town where was uh limited of a lot of resources, like no movie theaters and
Yeah.
like
Wow.
didn't have universities there. I had like, to move to the close city. I mean, that's normal for Brazil is a very big country. That's what I realize a lot of people don't know. It's like America. America is also very big, and I'm sure there's like a lot of little towns like that. And and when I tell that to people, they're surprised. Like different than Ireland. Ireland is such a tiny country. My state is 3 times bigger than Ireland.
Oh wow.
And yeah, Ireland such it was fun. It was very open minded, like to get out of the country that age, go to
Yeah, yeah.
Ireland. And also, like when you live in Brazil, at least when I grew up there, that internet wasn't that it was getting up. I'm from '89. Just get that out of the way.
Okay, okay.
I grew up there in the '90s. Um,
Okay.
and then yeah, so people get situated because I say like, oh, there's no internet. They think like I'm from the '70s or something.
Right.
But like when I was growing up, like they had because Brazil is so big and we have everything there in terms of like we have our own music, our own soap opera, and all in Portuguese. We don't relate to other Latin countries because of the language. So like it looks like the whole world is there. It's like it's very similar to America because a lot of Americans that I talk here, they have a little bit of that feeling. There's a lot of Americans that never left the country. So there's some similarities to Brazil. Like whereas Ireland and countries from Europe is the opposite. They're such a small country. They go in and out. So they experience other cultures way in a very different way than the way we do. We from for big countries like Brazil
Right.
and America. But like
Right.
going to Ireland on that age, and then it was just like a liberation for me. It was like I felt free. I felt that I could try everything. I felt that I could experiment. So that's why it was. It was like a little embarrassing and everything to just not know English or anything.
Right.
But like I'm like, who cares? Like nobody knows me here,
Right.
And
Well, I
then
mean, did you find that the community, did they embrace you? What was that
I felt
experience
so.
like?
There's a big Brazilian community there. That's another
Really?
thing. Yeah.
Wow.
Because I think the diplomacy between the countries are like open. Like they
Yeah.
are. Yeah. You basically don't need visa. You just go in and it's funny
Oh,
because like back I think it was Bush in 2000 and oh I don't even remember 2008 I guess. Yeah, 2008, 2007. Oh yeah, that was right on the market crash. I remember that when I lived there. I don't know. I just thought that it was a good country to try.
yeah.
And then after that, after I did a little bit of theater there and a little bit of film, I came back to Brazil. Like decided like because I've always liked entertainment. I just didn't know how to go about it. Like
Yeah, kind of
metrosexual,
where.
I always like man. I just didn't know how to go about it.
Right, right, right.
And then I was discovering these two things at the same time. Like I was like, so like I feel like when I left my country and then experienced learning English in Ireland, I was like when I come back, I was kind of like more I'm gonna do what I want because I was doing university that it was not related to film.
Okay.
It was like administration, like some random stuff. So I didn't have any film career lined up back then. I was just like, like following, trying to be a good student, like please my parents
Hmm.
and be cool. And I got into a nice university. I was doing pretty good on that job. I was not very happy though.
Now, so now at this age, was your family, would you say that they were supportive of the idea that you were going to Ireland to kind of maybe, I don't know, pursue your passions or, follow your dreams at this
Yeah,
point?
because they saw as my godmother put it, like, oh, he's going to come back speaking English, and his academic career is going to be brilliant when he's
Yeah.
back. They didn't know that it was exploring other things there. It was like I'm going nuts on that country.
Oh my gosh.
And also, like my whole growing up, like it was kind of I felt it was kind of that way. It took me a long time for me to be very and I think that's is a common characteristic of LGBT people. I mean, at least for me, it was like a big part. Like, cause I grew up, on my family, I grew up in everybody thinking I was straight,
Yeah.
and then I'm trying to please them. Like, okay, I'm just gonna be straight because everybody wants it. But deep inside, I knew I wasn't,
Okay.
and I think like the whole thing about I'm just gonna do, as I'm just trying to play by the book and play everybody safe. Like I didn't actually know, I didn't have freedom to, pursue what I want and be clear. Like, for example, everything that I would do, I would just put a mask to my mom. Like, for example, if I'm going to go out to see a guy, I would never tell her that. And then I would just be like, oh no, I'm just, doing this. Like,
Right.
like I'm going to Ireland, it's to learn English, but there's like a lot of more I want to try to go entertainment. Like I couldn't tell her like, hey, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a gay filmmaker, okay? I couldn't say that.
Well, I mean, does your mom know now?
She does. That's why I'm saying that on podcast right now. Otherwise, I wouldn't. She does, yeah. But like what I'm trying to say is like it took me a long time because I trained myself to. Because I love my family, and I was trying to discover, but I was trying to be like smooth about it. I was trying like, like, oh, I'm going to do this. So I'm always, for example, when I first got into university, it was for this course that I didn't like. It was this administration stuff, but it was like a federal university. It's really hard to get in, so it made me look good, but I didn't want to. It wasn't my passion. And for example, I would go there and I would immediately look for like theater groups or filmmaking groups, like on the lower level. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this thing that my parents do, but in my spare time, I'm just gonna try to follow my passion. Whereas nowadays, I feel that's the opposite. I'm like, I'm gonna just follow what I want, and then if I need to do something to my parents or for anybody else, it's gonna be like on second plan. Because I mean, if you don't put yourself first, if you don't save yourself, how are you gonna save somebody else? Like you're gonna
right.
Everybody gets killed in the airplane. I follow the rule in the airplane: put the mask on yourself first.
Wow, that's so interesting. I mean, it really just sounds like, at that age, you were definitely trying to kind of establish yourself, kind of find your way. You had, certain forms of, this freedom of expression. Kind of looking back on it now, would you say that that's still very relevant to you in terms of kind of still working through and trying to figure out what, kind of what direction you would like to go in?
No, nowadays, I mean, I'm telling you, I was telling you what what it meant for me, like moving to Ireland at 18 years old, But like nowadays, almost 10 years later, I'm turning 30 now, and then I'm completely resolved of everything. Like I know where my career is going. I'm very confident about my sexuality, and I'm clean with my family and with everybody. So much that I did a movie called Bathroom Stalls and Parking Lots.
I mean, it's a very LGBTQ centric film. And do you think you maybe can just give us a little summary or a brief synopsis of what really kind of the film is about?
Yeah.
So the movie is about this hopeless romantic guy who travels all the way to San Francisco to meet up with the love of his life. So him and his best friend go bar hopping to Castro District trying to look for this guy. But a lot of challenges happen between him and his friend that ended up putting their own friendship at test.
And you play one of the main characters. So not only did you have a hand in writing and directing the film, but you also had the experience of being the talent in a film as well.
Exactly. This film talks about a little bit of dating app, not just gays, but like everybody is using dating apps, Tinder, Grindr, Bumble, to Scruff, Hornet.
There's a pretty long list of dating apps available.
I give a list. Okay, Cupid. Anyway, everybody's using this to date, and I feel that everybody we're getting to like a problem that nobody's settling down with anybody. Even if they like them, it's never enough because you're like a swipe away to get the next person. And this film deals with that problem, like how somebody can get hurt by that, and how people deceive others. It's like the main theme of the movie is how they deceive other people in order to accomplish whatever they want. Like if it's a hookup, they try to string you along for as much as they need, but they never take you seriously. Yeah. And then when we switch the story to the friendship, and you see that even friends sometimes do that with you, and then that's why we switched that way. And then the reason why we did the movie that way, the movie started with this hunt for this guy that they know that is in one of the bars in San Francisco, specifically Bo. Whoever knows San Francisco is a very nice club there, and then they go to Bo trying to find this guy, and then after and then the story switches to concentrate on their own friends, on their own friendship, and then you start following my character Leo, and going to this like fairy tale Hollywood type of story. I'm going to find the love of my life type of thing, and then we make it believe that it's going to happen that way, and then we switch to even question if Leo is right or wrong behaving that way. You know what I mean? And then you start questioning if he was the one who last be deceived by all of this, you know what I mean? Or for all of this red flags that he's been getting, and then we question his behavior with his friends, and then also when the clash happens between the friends, we also gave a lot of reasons for his friend that fights with him to go that way. So I like to have people watching a movie and get their own conclusion. I don't like to be very preachy on those things. I like to expose and talk as it is. I did not try to tell what's right, what's wrong on that movie. Of course, you can see some side of what I believe, especially me playing that character. Yeah. But in the end of the movie, if you don't agree with my character, you can still enjoy the movie, and you're going to have a character to lean on.
Stay tuned for part 2 of my interview with Thales Corrêa. And don't forget to subscribe to In the Outside podcast and share it with all of your friends and leave reviews. You can also check out the original soundtrack to Bathroom Stalls and Parking Lots on Spotify. I featured some of the samples during the opening and closing of this episode. Talk to you soon.
Like, as long as I'm not kissing a guy, I'm not gay, even if I'm fooling around. Like, you know, I had that in my mind. I think, like, that was the moment that was like, fuck this thing, I'm gay. Because, like, I like him so much, you know? A lot of people didn't know, and, like, even girls, you know, so a lot of people would say, oh, you have girlfriend, you don't. So, like, it kind of have that disguise, you know, that I'm not gay. So it was like, so that moment was when I, like, kicked, that I just went for it.